have from next month I have pre-boards.
Okay, from the next month. So before that, only we'll try to finish. By the next week only. Next, or it will take just 1 week for the this reproduction and then another week for the heredity. So how do organisms reproduce? The meaning of reproduction is creating the similar ones. Okay? Creating similar organisms, that is what we mean by reproduction. So when we say that an organism is performing reproduction, so reproduction means it is, what do you mean by reproduction? Reproduction means producing similar generations. So we are producing the similar generations, which is called as reproduction. Reproduction means producing the similar generations, whatever we have, the first generation, then the next generation that comes. So that is similar to us. This process is called as reproduction. Okay. Before we come to this reproduction, let's have a reality of this world, okay, which everyone sees the reality of this world. The 4th December. Fine. Manan, okay. So a true reality of the world, that is death. Okay. So we know that all organisms are going to die. Is there any organism which is not going to die? We observe that all organisms will certainly die. They are going to die. So this is a process. If you observe the life process, this is one of them, that at the end, all the organisms have to die. So if the organism is going to die, so there is a principal thing, if the organism is going to die, so the population will get exhausted. If there is no reproduction, so the population will get exhausted. Okay. So along with the death, there is a procedure, that is reproduction. Along with death, there is reproduction is necessary. So reproduction, why it is necessary? Reproduction is necessary to maintain the population. It is necessary to maintain the population. So if in some organisms the population is 100, so to maintain that population, to grow that population, reproduction is necessary. Otherwise, the organisms will die down and hence the population will finish. So this is one reason why we need reproduction. Then what are the different ways of reproduction? How can different organisms reproduce? So generally there are two specific, the reproduction methods, they are divided under two categories. They are divided under either as the sexual reproduction or asexual reproduction. So the sexual reproduction, it means that in this category, there will be two parents, okay, and there will be a mating of the parents. That means there will be mixing of the gametes. The two parents will produce their gametes. There will be fertilization of the gamete to produce the new generation. So here in the sexual reproduction, there is involvement of two parents. Here, two parents are involved. Two parents are involved for the sexual reproduction. For the asexual reproduction, there is involvement of single parent. Only single parent is involved. In the asexual reproduction, that means there is only a single parent, and with the single parent, there will be reproduction of new organism. Okay. So first we will see the asexual mode of reproduction and what are its basic ways, what are the different ways by which the reproduction occurs. So in the asexual mode of reproduction, first we are going to study in detail about the asexual reproduction. So asexual reproduction, as said, there is involvement of single parent. There is just one parent which is involved, which is required for the production of the new organism. The new organism can be generated by just a single parent. So maybe by any of its body parts, maybe by the development of the nucleus itself. So there are various methods. If we observe the unicellular organism, so in them it starts with the nucleus. Okay. There are various ways for the unicellular organism also. So generally we observe in the case of unicellular organism, the methods are binary fission and multiple fission. So these are the methods of asexual reproduction. There is another very common thing that if you observe the asexual reproduction, so in the asexual reproduction, the new organism which is formed, the new organism, it has similar properties as the parent. When I say similar properties, so that means the properties are not exactly the same, but they are about 95% similar. They cannot be 100% similar. Okay. So can you guess why can't it be around 100%? If they are obtained only from a single parent, so why it is only 95%? Why can't we say that yes, there will not be any variation? Can we say that there will not be any variations?
No, sir. There can be uh, a mistake.
Yeah, so that mistake, that is because all these processes are biological processes, okay? And none of the biological processes are perfect. During the gene transfer or during the chromosomal matching, where the cell division occurs. So during that process, during the gene transferring, there are chances that some error may occur in that process. That is a biological process and some error may occur. So hence, there will be some variations. But in the case of asexual reproduction, the variations are less. We can say here, the variations are less, only about 5%. They show less variations. Variations are still there. There are only about 5% variation. But in the case of sexually reproducing organism, you will find a large number of variations in there. So here we observe in the case of binary fission and multiple fission. In the process of binary fission, a single cell divides into two cells. Okay. Fission means splitting. So generally it is observed in the unicellular organism, where an organism divides into two. So consider this to be a single cell, and let us say consider that this is your amoeba. So in the case of amoeba, first the cleavage or the division of the nucleus takes place. First the nucleus divides into two nuclei, and then the cytoplasm divide into. So here we have the division of nucleus. So a single nucleus divides into two. Okay. Then giving rise to two daughter cells. So here you have the formation of two daughter amoebae. Okay. This is the two daughter amoebae you have, which are identical to each other. So from a single parent, we have obtained two daughter cells, and the division is by the process of mitosis cell division. This is by the process of mitosis cell division that a single amoeba, it divides into two amoeba. Binary means two. So here this process is called as the binary fission. Similar to it is a multiple fission also. In the case of multiple fission, the division of nucleus, first occurs the division of nucleus multiple times. Okay. First the nucleus divides multiple times, and then the nearby cytoplasmic material is contained in a cell wall, okay, which gives rise to a new individual. So this is your binary fission. In the similar way, you have your multiple fission, which may occur in the case of plasmodium. Okay. So in the case of plasmodium, you have a single cell. So this is a single cell. Now the single cell, it divides in this, the single nucleus, it divides into very small, very a number of nuclei. So here a number of nuclei are formed. Here you have the formation of small, a number of nuclei. Okay. Then the nearby region of this nuclei, it gets surrounded over, all the nearby region of the nuclei, it gets surrounded over by cellular material of cell deposition of cellulose, which gives rise to the formation of cell wall and the cell membrane. Okay. So here what is happening? First, the nucleus is dividing many times, and then you have the cytoplasmic material contained in a boundary. So this is your plasmodium, where we observe multiple fission. So Srilasya, have you understood about this? Yeah, Srilasya, are you there?
Sir,
Okay. And your camera is also off.
yes, sir, I'll turn on 5 minutes.
So, okay. So understood about binary fission and multiple fission? Okay. So both are, in both the cases, the cell is dividing by the process of mitosis cell division. It is the mitosis cell division which occurs in them. So binary fission and multiple fission. Then after this you have budding as another process of formation of new individual.
Sir, what is it? Mitosis?
Mitosis cell division. There are two types of cell division. One is the mitosis and the other one is meiosis.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So, okay. About the budding. See, in the case of budding, there is formation of a small bud. Bud means an outgrowth of the body. Okay. So here, in the case of budding, a small outgrowth. So a small outgrowth is developed. And that outgrowth, the small outgrowth, it can develop into a new individual. It has the capacity to develop into a new individual. So this process is called as a budding. It is observed in the case of, you observe budding in the case of yeast cells. You observe budding in the case of hydra. So here we are taking the case of hydra. Hydra is a animal. Hydra belongs to the animal kingdom. Don't by looking at its diagram, don't feel that it is a plant. Okay. So hydra is an animal. It has some structures like this on the top. They are called as the tentacles of hydra. Okay. So these are the tentacles, and the organism is called as hydra. It is generally aquatic. It lives in water bodies. You will find them in ponds, pond water, and other water bodies. You can find hydra. Okay. So they are microscopic. They are observed with the help of microscope. Okay. So with the hydra, what will happen? There will be an outgrowth on its body. So outgrowth means something, a bulb-like structure like this will grow on its body. And this outgrowth which is being developed, this outgrowth can later on develop its own tentacles. Okay. So it can develop its own tentacles, and now it will develop its own tentacles like this. This is the parent one. Then it, when the tentacles are developed, it has grown up. So what will happen? It will get detached itself. It will detach itself from the parent body. So the new young hydra, which is formed in the form of a bud, it can detach itself from the parent body and it can grow independently, or it may even remain attached to the parent body for a long time. Okay. So this is how budding occurs in the case of hydra.
Sir,
Yes,
sir, is Hydra a single cell or like a double many cell?
uh, sim- hydra is a multicellular organism
Okay.
belonging to the coiled, belonging to uh, the first group of the, that is what we call as that name, porifera.
Okay, sir.
These are the tentacles of hydra. Generally, if it is painted green in color, so you will feel that this is a plant, but this is not a plant. This is an animal. It is an aquatic animal. It has the tentacles. These are tentacles, not the leaf. Do not mark them as leaf. They are the tentacles. This is the small outgrowth which is formed. We call them as bud. This is the bud which is formed. Here you have the formation of young hydra. So are you people drawing the diagram alongside?
Sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Have you drawn? Have you completed the diagram?
Sir, 1 minute. Sir, I have completed.
Okay. This is hydra, and here we were doing budding. The similar case happens with the yeast cells also. In the yeast also there is formation of a bud which may lead to further buds. Okay. And during their life cycle, they will get detached from the parent body and can grow independently into new individuals. So budding is observed in the case of yeast also. This is was the case of hydra. If you observe this in the case of yeast, so here the yeast cells may look something like this. They develop a small bud over here. Then this bud can form other buds on it. They can grow even further, and after that they may get detached from the parent body. So similar structure is attached with the is observed with the case of yeast cells. So this is budding. We have done binary fission. We have done budding. So the next one is regeneration and fragmentation. Regeneration. First we see regeneration. So regeneration is observed in certain organisms which have the capacity to regenerate their organs. there are certain organisms which have the capacity to regenerate their organs into new individuals. For example, if we observe in case of our body, so in our body we are not able to grow the cut out portion. Suppose if someone cuts our fingers, so we are not able to grow that again. Okay, can we grow our fingers again?
No,
That's possible. That's certainly not possible, as we are not regenerative. We cannot regenerate our fingers again. Okay. But in the case of plants, if you observe, if a branch is broken, so that branch can be grown up again. Okay. From that point, you can have the growth of another branch. So some of the plants, they possess the capacity of regeneration, but all the animals, they do not, not all them, but human beings, they do not have the capacity of regeneration. Okay. But even in the human beings, there are certain organs. There is one organ which is regenerative. So what is that organ, Manan? Which organ of the human body is regenerative? Can regenerate itself. It can grow. If it is cut down, so it will grow. I'm not talking of nails and hair. Yes, Manan? Are there any body parts which can regenerate? Stravani? Any body parts which can regenerate?
Sir, I wouldn't say regenerate, but skin, like when there is a cut, it again grows back.
Okay. So it can improve, but that's not regeneration. Regeneration in the human being.
Liver can regenerate, right?
Liver can regenerate. Our liver can regenerate even if it is cut down to its 3/4 of its volume. Even if liver is cut down to 3/4 of its volume, so it can regenerate, it can regrow the complete liver. Okay. So regeneration is the capacity in the case of human beings in liver, where we have just for one organ. A similar capacity is available with all the organisms. With not all the certain organisms, they have the capacity to regenerate a cutout portion. So regeneration here, it is the capacity of an organism to regenerate new individuals from its cut out body parts. So if some parts of the body they are cut down, okay, so the organism will have the capacity to regenerate it. So that is your regeneration we can have in the case of a few organisms. For example, here we observe regeneration in the case of planaria. So planaria are flatworms. They belong to the category of the flatworms. Yeah, they are flat in their structure. They have the capacity to regenerate. So a planaria, when cut into two parts, let's say this is planaria, when cut into two parts, so each part is able to grow into a new individual, or even if it is cut down into three parts. If we cut down this planaria into three parts, so each part of the body will be able to regenerate. So if you cut down from here, the upper portion will develop into new individual. You will have the upper portion developing into new individual like this. Okay. Then the middle portion will also develop into the new individual. Here also you have the formation of new individual. Here also you will have the formation of new individual. So we observe that you have the formation of new planaria by the process of regeneration. A similar process which is similar to this regeneration, that is fragmentation. So we observe here another process, that is fragmentation. So what is fragmentation? By the process of fragmentation, here it is also the similar thing. Okay, the body splits into two, and each body part it develops into a new individual. Okay. So fragmentation here also, the body regrows into new individual. The body breaks into two. Okay, breaks into two or more parts. Breaks into two or more parts and grow as new individuals. So this is the process of fragmentation. It is observed in the case of Spirogyra. We observe this fragmentation in the case of Spirogyra, right? So you have fragmentation, you have regeneration and budding, right? So any doubts up to here, whatever we have done? Mehak?
Sir, what is the difference between regeneration and fragmentation, sir?
Okay, they are almost the similar things as you have seen, but the only difference between them is in the case of regeneration, it is someone who is externally cutting the body. Okay, so there is some external force which is involved. If someone cuts down the planaria into two parts, it will go into two individuals. If someone cuts the planaria into three parts, so it will go into three individuals. But on its own, it will not get its body divided. Okay. So in the case of planidia or anyone, basically in the case of regeneration, it is that the body will not develop on its own. It will develop into a new individual only when it is cut down into two pieces or three pieces by some external forces. But in the case of fragmentation, it is not the external force. In the case of fragmentation, the body breaks. So it is the internal forces. Okay, that means this here the body actually want to break and develop into new individual. There are no external forces which are involved. Yes. So this is the basic difference between fragmentation and regeneration. This is a very good question. So everyone has also understood the differences between fragmentation and regeneration. Okay. Any doubts?
Yes, sir.
Okay. See, all these topics which you have studied up now, they were quite easy. Okay. But the board has a question from these three words. I'm telling you these three words, they are the questions from the board. The question comes here, it starts from where? What is, explain the following terms. The first word is regeneration. The second word is fragmentation. And the next word after this you find is spore formation. A very good question for the board. Okay. So can you tell why this is a very good question? Why I tell it to be a very good question? Spore formation is a very good question. Fragmentation is a very good question. Any ideas about you?
Sir, maybe because these all are similar.
No. Maybe it's because all these are new to you. You have not heard about them before. You have heard about binary fission, you have heard about budding, you have heard about various other processes, but not these. Okay. So just understand this. You will find these questions in previous year's questions if you find. So they will be available in over there. Okay. So before you prepare for the board exam, just go through these three at least. These three are must before your preparation. Okay. So spore formation, fragmentation, and regeneration. Okay. Now what happens in the case of spore formation? Anyone who has an idea of spore formation? Medha Ansini, what is spore formation?
Sir, they develop thread-like structures on the surface.
They develop thread-like structures.
Yes, sir.
No. This
Sir,
is what I
supervised.
most of you have studied this in your class, okay, and still I know that you will not be able to answer this spore formation. Vedika, can you answer spore formation? Yes, Vedika,
Yes, sir.
can you answer for spore formation?
Yes, sir.
No. Saryu? See, that is what, so I hope you have understood that why I say that this is from the board exam, this is very important. All these, spore formation, fragmentation and regeneration. Okay. See, spore formation, what happens over here? Here there is formation of single cells which are capable of reproduction. So there is formation of single cells which are capable of reproduction. So these single cells, they are called as spores. So what are spores?
Single cells.
Yeah, single cells which are capable of reproduction, they are called as spores. Okay. Sorry, I need to write here spores. Now these spores, they are these spores, that means these single cell structures, they are stored in hard structures called sporangium. So first of all, you have understood what are spores. Everyone has understood. Spores are the single cells which are capable of reproduction. Okay, they are not fertilized ovum. This is not a fertilized ovum. Just each organism produces single cells which are capable of reproduction. And those single cells, they are stored in structures called sporangium. Okay, so sporangium is the one which has a collection of spores. It has a number of spores. Okay, just so the
Is it
object,
like a hard covering?
yeah, they are just like a hard covering. They are just like the hard coverings. Okay.
Sir,
This happens in the case of rhizopus. We observe this in the case, you should remember this example of rhizopus. Okay. So in the case of rhizopus, you observe some structures like this, okay, which have these structures called sporangium. So these are the sporangia. So these are your sporangium. So what does the sporangium contain?
Spores.
Spores.
Spores. Sporangium contains spores. And what are spores?
Single
Single
cells.
reproductive parts.
They are,
Single cell reproductive parts.
yeah, they are the single cells which are capable of reproduction. Okay. So I think if I ask you in the next class that what is sporangium, so you can explain that. Yes? Can you explain sporangium now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So these structures we call as hyphae. These are hyphae. sporangium contains the spores. So such a process is called as the spore formation, where the organism forms the spores and those spores are stored in the sporangium. They are not the fertilized organism.
So hyphae are those thread-like structures, right?
Yeah, those thread-like structures, they are hyphae. These ones are the hyphae. This one is also the hyphae. So, see, for all these,
Sir,
yes,
sir, on I just like I thought on bread molds and stuff there are found thread-like structures.
they are granules.
Yes, sir.
No, these are not the granules. So, any doubts? Any other doubts? These roots-like structures which we see, they are called as rhizoids. Okay. So, understood this? Okay. So now this was very much which we know. Now the next one is vegetative propagation. The last process is the vegetative propagation. So if you observe the vegetative propagation means the development or formation of a new individual by the vegetative parts of by the vegetative parts of an organism, generally with the plants. Okay, so in the plants, what are the vegetative parts? Manan, what are the vegetative parts in a plant?
Sir, stem, leaves,
Stem, leaves, and
flowers.
are okay. Rene, what are the vegetative parts in a plant?
So the vegetative parts of a plant is stem, leaves, and the roots,
Okay. And what about the flowers and fruits?
sunflowers and fruits.
Yes,
So they count too, right?
they come,
They count as well.
they count. No. See, have a clear understanding, then you will understand this vegetative propagation. Okay. The vegetative parts, when I say vegetative parts, it's just three: either stem, leaf, or roots. These are the vegetative parts. Only these three: stem, roots, and leaf. They are the vegetative parts of a plant. But flowers and fruits, the flowers and fruits are the reproductive part. They are not the vegetative parts. Okay? They are reproductive parts. So understood the differences? They are reproductive organs or reproductive parts of a plant. They are not vegetative. Okay? So here we are discussing only when about the vegetative propagation, when there is when the vegetative parts of when the new there is formation of a new plant from the vegetative parts of a plant. Okay, so that is if there is formation of a new organism from the stem, we will call it vegetative propagation. If there is formation of a new individual from the leaf, so that is also vegetative propagation. Okay, if there is formation of a new individual from the roots, so that is also vegetative propagation. But if something is developing from flowers, if something is developing from the fruits, so that is a sexual reproduction. That is not a vegetative propagation. So Manan and Rene, have you understood?
Yes, sir.
Saryu?
Yes, sir.
So see, as of you, if you are going to look for the parts of the vegetative propagation, so what we will study? We will study the reproduction from stem. Okay. We will study a reproduction from leaves, and we will study the reproduction from roots. That's it. Okay. Now, as there are certain organisms which store food in this form of stem, there are certain organisms which store food in the form of leaf. Okay. There are certain organisms which store food in the form of roots. Okay. So if you observe the ginger, potato, sorry, ginger, carrot, they are root modifications. Okay. So they carry the food in the form of stem. In the stem only they are carrying the food. So a new individual can be developed from the stem of the ginger. It can be developed from the uh, carrot. That is also the stem of the ginger. Okay. So understood these portions? Even in the case of onion also, the bulb of the onion, with the case of onion also, the bulb of the onion is the stem and it can be developed into a new individual. There can be a formation of new individual from the bulb of the onion, which is stem. Okay. Also, if you observe the leaf, so there are certain examples like bryophyllum. In the case of bryophyllum, there is formation of new plantlets from the leaf. The leaf itself, it develops, the leaf is something like this. So the leaf, there is development of new plantlets on the leaf. There is formation of new plantlets on the leaf, and these plantlets, they may grow into new individuals, drop out from the plant. They may drop out from the plant and later on develop into new individuals. Okay, so development from leaf, it is observed in bryophyllum, and there are other organisms. So, in the case of roots, there wherever the roots store energy, so they can be transmitted to new, there can be development of new individual from the roots. For example, the case of banana tree. Okay, is there any other individual? Is there, can you remember of any other plant which develops through the roots?
Sir, can carrot be one? Okay.
It's potato, radish. Okay. They are root modifications. They store energy in the form of roots, so they develop by the root modifications. Okay. Yeah, any doubts, Saryu?
No, sir.
So I think today you have understood all these. A clear understanding between what is our vegetative propagation. It's only stem, leaf, and the root.
Sir,
Yes,
sir, what about mint?
mint. Okay, in the mint, it is through the stem and leaf both. Sorry, stem and the roots. Okay, they can grow into new individuals, even through stem and even through roots.
Okay, sir.
Now, the question arises, this can we have artificial vegetative propagation?
Yes, sir.
Yes, we can have artificial vegetative. Yeah, there are artificially we can perform all these processes, and there are processes which are called as cutting, layering, and grafting. In the artificial methods, you have the processes of cutting, layering, and grafting. And this is also very important. This is also one of the board's favorite questions. artificial methods of vegetative propagation, that is cutting, layering, and grafting, where the stem of a plant can be cut. Okay, layering, there are stem. Also there is a stem cutting, but in the case of layering, there are two types of layering: either air layering or ground layering. In the case of cutting, it's simple. The stem is cut down. The stem is cut down into
खाने वाली चीजों को नहीं खाना आगे क्या
So, in the case of cutting, like we do in the case of rose and jasmine, where we cut down the stem, we plant it somewhere else, and over there is development of new individuals. So, this cutting we observe in the case of rose and jasmine, we perform. Okay. Then the layering, it can be done in two ways. Either it can be air layering or ground layering. So it is done with the case of lemon. Layering can be done with the case of lemon, or it can be done with mango tree. Okay. So I will show you some pictures of layering in mango tree. So I hope you have understood what does layering mean.
Yes, sir.
Okay. In the case of layering, what is happening over here? That we are cutting just like this. Suppose this is the branch. Okay. So in this branch, we make a small cut on the top or bottom. We make a small cut over here. Okay. So a small cut is created over here, and at this cut, some materials are added, and those materials are your nutrients. Some nutrients are added over here, and it is tied. So it grows into, when it develops roots over here. When the roots are developed, so the branch can be cut down from this side, and the new plant which has the roots, it can be planted again. So the benefits of layering. Can anyone tell the benefits of layering?
Sir, isn't jasmine layering example of layering?
No, in the jasmine you can do layering, but generally it is done by the cutting method. You cut it and you plant it at some place. Okay. In the case of layering, you make a small cut, you keep it intact with the soil, allow it to develop the roots, and once the roots are developed, then you allow the new plant to be formed. So I will show you some pictures of layering just to make you have a clear understanding of the layering. See, layering, how it happens in the case of mango tree. See here, the branch has been cut. As you can see here, the branch has been cut, soil has been applied over there, and due to the application of the soil, it has developed roots. This is the complete branch. And here you see the development of roots is there. Okay. So understood this? Here also you can observe this. This is the complete stem, and in this stem a small cut is made. You fill this. Can you see the small cut inside this glass? A small cut made on the stem inside the glass.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Sir.
Then after that, this glass is filled with soil and some nutrients. Okay. So once it is filled with nutrients and soil, it is kept intact for some time. So it will lead to the formation of the roots, just as we saw. Okay. Once the roots are formed, so it can be cut down from here. It can be cut down from here. It can be cut down from here, and the other part of the branch, it can be taken and planted somewhere as the new plant. Okay. So any other doubts? I think layering is understood. Okay, what type of layering is it? Is it ground layering or air layering?
Sir, it is air layering.
Yeah,
Layering.
this is air layering. In the similar way, you also find ground layering in the case of lemon. Let's see. Ground layering in, you can do it in lemon or guava. So ground layering can be done only in those plants whose branches touch the ground. So you can understand it better with this simple picture. Since the branches are touching the ground, so the branch is it is kept deep inside the soil for some time, made a cut over there, so that it can it can develop new roots, just like this. See, new roots have been developed, so it can be cut out from here, which will develop into a new plant. Okay. So we were talking of the benefits of layering. What are the benefits of layering?
Sir, will it not affect the plant like bending and all?
It will be the exact copy of the plant. We will be getting the exact copy of the plant. Okay. And those plants which are grown by the method of layering, they start giving the fruits early. Like if you are planting a plant with the help of a seed, so it will give you fruits with a long time. It will take a long time. But those plants which have been planted by the layering method, they start giving the fruits at an early stage. Okay. So with the layering, you can get the exact plant which you want. And the second thing is that it is an early method. With this, the plant will start giving out fruits early. Okay. So I hope you have understood. Bye everyone. Good night.
Bye, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
sir.
Thank you, sir. Bye, sir.
Bye. Good night. See you.